you were to go onto YouTube and search up Bottom and then sort the videos by view count and then scroll for a few hours, then you would see that the highest viewed video to do with Bottom is a clip from the first Bottom live show where Mayall and Adrian Edmondson mess up their lines and get playfully yelled at by the audience. As of February 2022, the clip itself currently has over 2.8 million views. Now the highest viewed clip of Bottom, the TV show that there is on YouTube, is the scene with Gasman from the second episode of Bottom, simply titled Gas, and that video currently has over 676,000 views. Obviously that's a good amount of views, but there's clearly a large difference when compared to the two videos. In fact, most of the highest viewed videos to do with Bottom are the ones related to the live shows. Most fans of Bottom even consider some of the live shows to be better than the actual TV show. I guess they're so popular that you can barely purchase a physical copy of the live shows. I mean, DVDs of the live shows aren't rare, but some of them are pretty expensive, and the copy that I purchased was £29. But this doesn't really bother me because I like the work of Mayall and Adrian Edmondson. If this was the work of a person who was shit, then yes, the price would bother me. So this is what I'll do. I'll go through all 5 of the Bottom live shows and give my thoughts, and once I've gone through them all, I'll rank them from worst to best. That sounds simple enough. I think I might even have some controversial opinions as well. Ooh. Live 1 is incredible. I honestly love this shit. It's just such a perfect stage show, and it's honestly really impressive. In terms of comedy, this is the live show that has made me laugh the most. The slapstick is great.
There is no better physical humour.
And it's honestly really impressive. Of course, when it came to Bottom as a TV show, slapstick comedy and physical humour isn't anything new. But here it's just hilarious and impressive because it's live, and so the violence has to be perfected. With the TV show, if they fuck up, they'd be able to retake a scene. And so that makes the slapstick in the live shows really impressive, since they have to do all this live and in one take. The sound effects are great too, and much like the TV show, they suit the violence extremely well. In terms of Mayall and Aid Edmondson's performances, this is some of their funniest stuff. Rick's physical work here is hilarious, and Aid has some great moments too. For me, the best scene is the Special K scene. Eddie banging his spoon on the bowl. It's just a really funny moment. And the bit with Richie breaking the brick of Special K over his legs is just one of the funniest things ever. Rick's physical comedy with the legs and the sound effects is just perfect. The funniest Eddie moment for me is the bit where Richard and Judy are on TV. He and Richie get so terrified at the sight of what's on the TV that Eddie pulls out a gun and shoots the TV. I think the last time we saw Eddie with a gun was in Burglary. Honestly, I forgot he had a gun. Do you know who else randomly owns a gun? Mr. Bean. You forgot about that, didn't you? How the fuck did Mr. Bean get a gun? Other scenes that I really like in this are probably the bit where Richie's package arrives. Mayall's facial expressions are great, and the dialogue in this scene and just throughout the whole live show is incredibly funny and quotable. Of course, the thing inside Richie's package is a blow-up sex doll. I'm just repeating myself at this point, but it's just really funny.
Oh, look at them! Oh, that'll do! Don't want to shag a fatty!
The doll being poorly stuffed inside Richie's underwear, and Richie having his penis cut off by accident as Eddie tries to cut off the sex doll. It's just, say it with me now. A rather amusing moment of comedic entertainment, if I do say so myself. The most well-known part of the live shows are Rick and Aid's fuck-ups. It's debated as to whether or not these fuck-ups are real or not. In the later live shows it does look a bit scripted, but either way it's some of the most memorable stuff in the live shows, and some of the funniest.
Ready? Come on, come on, come on.
Are you ready?
I'm ready!
The arm's getting tired now. Here it comes.
That's not why your arm's getting tired.
Yeah, well, at least it's my arm, not just my wrist.
Mayall laughing really hard whilst trying to talk about his suicide attempt is just wonderful.
What about this suicide? suicide.
Right, yes. Oh, yes, my suicide, yes. Yes, I've forgotten about that. Right, sit down, Eddie. Sit down. I've got some sad and tragic news.
I also just really like how Rick and Aid play around and interact with the audience. The fourth wall stuff is just really entertaining. But later in the live shows they do suffer a bit from reused jokes from previous live shows or previous episodes of Bottom. And although Rick, Mayall and Aid Edmondson do reuse some jokes from their previous Bottom episodes, I don't actually mind it since this is the first live show that they did, and so having some jokes reused in the first live show adds some familiarity to it.
See you in a mo. A sex mo. I'll be back in a mo. A sex mo.
Slime in this ear, slime in that ear. Just stop talking! Slime in this ear, slime in that ear. Don't you ever yearn for change? Eat your heart out.
Well, it's interesting because A, I said it and anything I say is interesting per se, and B, well, there isn't a B because the A was so great. A, bollocks, and B, well, I don't need a B because the A was so great.
It's sort of like The Force Awakens if you think about it, making something new whilst at the same time using older ideas, or in Bottom's case, jokes, in order to make something new and fun. Reused jokes are only done a few times, but when they do reuse a joke, it still ends up being really funny. An example of a good reused joke in this is where they redo the "Missed Both My Legs" joke from the Series 1 episode of The Young Ones.
Ah! Missed both my legs! Shut up!
And obviously compared to Star Wars The Force Awakens, Bottom Live 1 has a lot more new ideas. Also speaking of Star Wars, did you know that Edmondson was in Star Wars The Last Jedi? Oh my lord, Star Wars! Ugh, fuck off. I have no idea how to talk about the show's plot because there isn't really much of a plot. Eddie gets a letter from the solicitor about how Richie is owed £15,000 after his uncle's death, and so Eddie wants to kill Richie off so that he can get the money for himself.
It was the fucking postman! Bastard!
Every day the same! Every day he comes round! What does he want?
Claims he was delivering the mail.
Oh, yeah. You got any proof?
A parcel and some letters.
Oh, yeah. And who are they addressed to?
Us.
And who does he think we are?
Probably the people the letters are addressed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right, well, let's not fuck with him anymore.
I didn't know you were fucking him.
With his only other option of getting the money being to either sign a marriage certificate or an adoption certificate.
Right, well, no need to worry about being the end of the line, because I am now your legally adopted son.
What? You're my son?
I'm afraid so.
But you are my son?
Yep, indeedy-do. Hello, Dad. Hey, that's a point. I couldn't tap you for a bit of pocket money, could I?
In terms of the plot, who really gives a shit? It's just there so that jokes can happen, and the jokes are great. It does take a while for the plot to actually start going. Bottom Live 1 is pretty much 100 minutes long, but it does take half an hour for the plot to actually happen. But this doesn't really bother me since that first half hour is just really funny and well written. Before I move on to Bottom Live 2, I just want to say something about the infamous have a wank sequence. Has anyone actually shouted this out at another live show? Like some really dramatic Shakespearean like type shit. I don't know, just be funny. Just some like, ooh, big fancy dramatic monologue, an emotional death scene, and in the background you'll just hear someone say, have a wank! I don't know, I just hope someone's done it. It's a funny idea. You listening or watching right now, book tickets to a stage show. Shout out, have a wank. I dare you. I double dare you. Fucking do it. I can't be bothered because I don't have the money. But you do it. If you have the money, go to a stage show. Anyone, any stage show. It could be like a children's pantomime. Shout, have a wank. Do it. I also love this really weird interview that Rick and A did to promote Bottom Live. It's from this old talk show from the early 90s made for children, and seeing them on there promoting a show that's not even made for kids is just really weird, but it's really funny too. There's some good highlights.
Richard.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Vic, did you find it easy to relate to your character in Bottom?
Relate to him?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's a difficult question, really. I'll get Eddie to pick my nose as a joke. Yeah, he's much the same as... I really based it on Adrian, actually, just observing him throughout his life. And I just do what he does all the time, really.
And vice versa.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't difficult, no. What's your name?
Hello, Richard.
Yeah.
Are you there still?
That's how interesting I was.
I'm just going to ring home and see if it's going well.
I wouldn't bother. What's your question?
Do you think that the stunts that you do on Bottom will influence children, like when Eddie drinks the bleach and electrocutes Gasman?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be ridiculous. It's kind of cartoon violence. And most kind of rational people can understand that.
And if they're irrational, then they'll drink the bleach. And
Exactly.
Quite right, too.
Now let's go to Johnny's question. I was going to go to the phones then, but I was strangely drawn towards Johnny's question. Where are you, Johnny? Johnny.
Bottom Live 1 is great. Up there with the best Bottom episodes.
Hey, and don't touch my brick while I'm gone. I said brick. Not penis.
Next one. Bottom Live 2, the Big Number 2 tour tends to be very popular with fans of Bottom, with some saying that it's the best of the 5 live shows, and whilst this is a perfectly acceptable opinion, it is not my opinion. Therefore, this opinion is dumb. And this isn't me saying that Bottom Live 2 is bad, because it definitely isn't. I just personally don't think it's perfect. Bottom Live 2, the Big Number 2 tour was done 2 years after Bottom Live 1, and unlike Bottom Live 1, there does somewhat seem to be more focused on plot. It doesn't take too long for the plot to actually kick in. In this one, it takes less than 10 minutes for the plot to actually kick in. Bravo, Rick and Aid. Well done. In Bottom Live 2, the Big Number 2 tour, Richie is very nervous about the Queen coming around, and so he decides to get Eddie to help him put up a fireworks display for the Queen.
The Queen?
Yes, and kneel down when you say that.
No wonder she's so fucking unpopular.
This fucks up and the two get put in prison, which is where 99% of the second act takes place. Bottom Live 2, the Big Number 2 tour is very funny and entertaining, but I don't think it has as many standout moments as the first one, and I think that's why I don't think it's as good. The pacing is good, but I was definitely more into the first live show. Rick and Ada are of course the best thing in this. I think they save it, to be honest, with their performances. It sounds like I hate this, but I don't. I just prefer the first live show. Standout moments, these.
Both my legs. I'm all alone. All alone. Just me. Ah. It's not a fucking pantomime, you know. Oh, Eddie. What should we do to pass the time?
Oh, all right. Sorry. Rather to sophisticated Oxford. I'm a wank, Professor! May as well, the only other thing to do is catch a fucking bus! Oh, well, that's just effing marvellous, isn't it? Christ or come and bloody flip mighty. Well, there's no way I'm going to clean that entrance to Hades, so I might as well call the whole bloody thing off. So... Now, you listen to me, Buster. You're just a door. I'm Rick fucking Mayall.
And yes, I'll mention this. Jeffrey the Psychopathic Penis Remover has a beautiful name.
What was that?
What was what?
That terrifying, blood-curdling scream that will make any decent Christian fill his trousers with whiff juice.
Oh, that?
Yes.
Oh, that's just Jeffrey doing his rounds.
Jeffrey?
Jeffrey the Psychopathic Penis Remover.
Oh. What's he in for?
Removing penises.
Oh, no. Doll.
Good show, not perfect. Next one. I don't have much to say about it. But I will say this. Guest House Paradisa and Drop Dead Fred are better. I said what I said and I don't give a fuck. Bottom Life 3 Hooligans Island is wonderful. In my opinion, whilst not as good as the first live show, it's probably my second favourite of the live shows. There isn't really much of a plot in this one, it's just Eddie and Richie stuck on an island and then they notice a French bomb around 17 minutes into the show. I also just love how Richie's hat flies off when he walks into the bomb. Funny shit. Much like the previous live shows, all the physical humour in this is great. Bottom Life 3, 4 and 5 don't have much in terms of plot, and in terms of 3, this is the best live show. Despite the lack of plot, Bottom Life 3 Hooligans Island is just a really funny show, and because of how funny it is, it definitely makes it the stronger live show out of Bottom Life 3, 4 and 5. Much like the previous live shows, there are multiple little fuck-ups and they're all great. The funniest ones are the Japanese door one and the Have a Wanker one, and in general this also has one of the funniest lines in Bottom.
Not true at all. You were accusing me of deliberately masturbating into your breakfast.
Rick and Aid actually did have an idea to turn Hooligans Island into a TV show, but unfortunately it never happened. I would have loved to see it, no idea if it would have been as good as the original Bottom series or Bottom Life 3, but I think it would have been fun to see. I don't know what else to say about this one, it's just good, I like it, it's funny, 10 out of 10. All I can think of doing right now is just listing off funny moments. The bit where Eddie was shat on was funny, about the albatross,
I don't know.
Okay, first off, the title. It confuses me. It's obviously a silly take on Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, but why is it an arse oddity and not an arse odyssey? I don't get it. It's confusing. Whatever. Bottom Life 4 and 5 are seen as pretty mediocre by some Bottom fans. I can somewhat see where these people are coming from, but with these last two Bottom Live shows, it feels like Rick and Aid made it in some kind of fuck it mode. Bottom Life 4 doesn't really have a plot at all. It starts with them on an island, and then the second half is Rich and Eddie in some dome place. it's a bit confusing. Speaking of the island, I'm not sure if it's the same island from Bottom Life 3 or not, because it looks a bit different. Maybe it's the same island, but the set is slightly different, because this is 4 years after Bottom Life 3. But even that would be a weird excuse, because Bottom Life 1 and 2 were set in the flat, and were both made a couple years apart. But the flat set feels consistent, whereas the island set feels inconsistent. Anyways, Bottom Life 2001 and Ars Oddity is actually not that bad. There's kind of a self-aware meta feel to the lack of plot in this one that I like, especially in the second act. It doesn't really go full on though, which is a shame, but seeing Rick and Aid go full on with the meta stuff would have been really fun, to be honest. In terms of all 5 of the Bottom Life shows, this is definitely my guilty pleasure. I actually like this more than Bottom Life 2. Compared to Bottom Life 2, this is definitely the weaker one in terms of all the technical aspects, but despite being the more flawed live show, I just find this one more enjoyable personally. Some highlights of this one are the frying pan fight, any moment of Rick Mayall saying,
Dave! Hold on there, little Dave! Oh, little Dave! Hold on there, little Dave, buddy!
Richie's spontaneous face, and most importantly, the bit where it sounds like Rick Mayall almost says Bazinga. I haven't really mentioned this, but I just love Rick and Aid's entrances in these live shows. The crowd's energy is just a ton of fun, and I love how Rick and Aid just go all out when they first appear. It's a ton of fun.
You realise they'll be fucking closed now?
Bottom Life 2001 and Ars Odyssey isn't the best live show, but it definitely isn't the worst. This is a segue for me to talk about Bottom Life 5. Woo! Bottom Life 2003 Weapons Grade Y-Fronts Tour was the 5th Bottom Life show and the last time that Rick Mayall and Aid Edmondson played their roles of Richie and Eddie. As a finale for the characters of Richie and Eddie, not including the TV show, this is a pretty disappointing end. I'm not 100% sure if this was intended to be the last time that the characters of Richie and Eddie were to appear, but if it was, then I wish it were better. I don't even think this one had a plot at all. There's a time machine in it, but I don't think they even did much with the time machine. The first scene with the time machine is good though, with Richie going back in time repeatedly and having to speed run from the start of the play up to that very point. That was fun. There's also an enjoyable bit where Rick and Aid recreate their characters from the young ones, although I can't remember why this was done. Was it because of the time machine or because Rick and Aid were bored? I can't remember. It's a shame that not much is done with the time machine in this. I just don't get why there's such a lack of plot in this. I mean, if this were up there with Bottom Life 1 and 3 in terms of comedy, then the lack of plot wouldn't really bother me, but it isn't as funny as Bottom Life 1 and 3, so the plot does bother me a bit. The whole thing is a mess. I like Rick and Aid a lot, but this is just some of their weaker work. I'm trying to think of some good standout moments, but there's not much. To me, Bottom Life 5 is on par with episodes like Terror and Break. They have some amusing moments, but overall they're kind of forgettable in terms of plot. Also, the title is dumb. Weapons Grade Y-Fronts Tour. I don't like it. It's dumb. All the other live show titles made some sense, but this one doesn't. With all of Rick and Aid's collaborations, people tend to bring up Guest House Paradiso, Filthy Rich and Catflap, and the last 2 Bottom Life as some of their weaker projects. Out of all of these, Guest House Paradiso and Bottom Life 4 are the ones that I enjoyed the most. Filthy Rich and Catflap was alright, I've only seen it once, but Bottom Life 5 feels like a mess. Rick and Aid's energy and performances are fun to watch, even though the show's material is just nowhere as good as the first Bottom Live show or some of the best episodes of Bottom. It's just kind of a mixed bag really. Let's get to the ranking. The Bottom Live shows, worst to best. The weakest of the live shows, I'm not sure if it's the weakest thing related to Bottom. There's probably one episode that is weaker than this, but this is just a pretty flawed live show. There's a couple amusing moments, and seeing Rick and Abe play their Bottom characters is always fun, but it could have been better. Yep, I don't love it. It's funny, but I don't find it as hilarious as some others do. Rick and Abe are great, and the fuck-ups in this are some of the best. Enjoyable, but not perfect. Yep, my guilty pleasure of live shows. It's definitely not perfect, but I enjoy it. I used to consider this to be the best of the live shows. It's just a really fun show, and I love the energy of Rick and Abe in this. There's a load of great fuck-ups in this, and this just has some of the funniest interaction between the Rich and Eddie characters, and Rick and Abe as performers. It's just really good. Perfection. This is just a fucking great piece of comedy, writing, performance. It's perfect. This easily has the best physical comedy of all the live shows. It's hilarious and incredibly impressive. Rick and Abe's performances and energy are just so energetic. It's just art. Beautiful art. I love it. Before I finish, I think it's best for me to quickly compare the live shows to the TV show. Personally, Bottom Live 1 is the only one that I think is as good as the TV show. It's also the best paced of the live shows, which helps too. Bottom Live 3 is great, but I enjoy the TV show a bit more, although Bottom Live 3 is definitely better than some of the weaker episodes of Bottom. As for Bottom Live 2, 4 and 5, I would definitely say that I prefer the TV show just a bit more, although I would probably say that all 5 live shows are better than episodes like Terror and Break. That's it. What else do you want me to say? Fuck off, go away, see you next Tuesday, and a Merry Christmas to you all.
Not bad.
Hey, hey. Hair of the dog.
No, I think it's a pube. Yeah, see?
Yes.